Hello, my name is Kaz, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install the multi-material system onto the Elegoo Centauri Carbon version 1. So here is the multi-material system. So I've already opened the box and taken a little look. So you open the box and then it comes with this wonderful setting of instructions, which are going to be very helpful because I have no idea how to install this. Then we have a piece of foam for protection. And then we have a toolkit which has screwdrivers, cables, and everything else that we might need apart from these. Then, over here, I can see this silver bag which I've already opened, which has what looks to be an extruder. Then, we have a new fan for the hot end. And then there's also a new chute for the back. Then looks to be that there is 4 of these new filament holders. This is number 1 I've picked up. So it's 1, 2, and then 3, 4. And this is where you put the filament. And then in here, so this looks to be a rod of some sort. Then over here, it looks like the filament goes in over here. And then this kind of tells which filament to go in when. So, it's quite nice. I like the fact you can see the PCBs through the casing. And underneath that we have this piece of foam. And then we have what looks to be like a backing plate, like a mounting plate for this. So, again, they will figure out what that is once we get to that. See you in the installation process. Okay, so step 1 in the instructions seems to be to remove the mounting screws and disconnect the extruder communication cable, which looks to be over here. Just find the smallest Allen key which comes with the kit and take those 2 screws off. Also, before we start, I would highly recommend you had a metal tray in hand, or at least a tub or pot of some kind to put the screws in as you're working. Okay, so I've just taken off the 2 screws and unplugged the cable, and it's just take the 2 screws off and then just pull it a bit. You need to wiggle it a little bit, and then you'll find that it is just a regular USB-C cable which plugs right into there. So next step in the instructions is detach the module cooling fan assembly and unplug the cable, which is right here. Okay, so the cooling fan is off and unplugged. Then it looks as though I need to unscrew the 4 screws on both sides and remove the cover. And then remove 3 mounting screws and attach the rear cover. So just removing a couple of covers. So here are the 2 covers that I've removed. This is the front one from over here. And this is the back one, which is from over here. And now it's telling me to go underneath and remove the PCBA, which I think is that red board over there. So I'm going to get that out next. So I've removed it over here, and it was just a screw underneath. The next thing I need to do is take off the fan adapter cable and motor cable, which is back there. Okay, so a few moments later I've disconnected that cable, which was really easy to do. The motor cable was extremely easy. But then this cable for the fan adapter cable, that was really difficult to take off. So be very careful with that, because these are both very fragile on the board, because you don't want to rip anything out of the board. But yeah, this one was easy, this one was really difficult. But what I found is this just leads to back over here to this cable, and if you push this black cable back, then it pulls this forward, then it gives you something to grab. So it just literally just tried to push that through the holder a little bit. So it says next that I need to remove the screws securing the communication board. So that looks like it's 3 screws at the back. Right there. Yep, 1, So 1, 2, and then 3 down there. Okay, so now I have gotten this board off. It was quite difficult to do, but what you do is you pry it up from the bottom and then you kind of pull it down. And as you can see, I broke off the heatsink from here. So this board is kind of useless now, but it's the old one, luckily enough. But yeah, don't do that. Don't grab it from the heatsink. Grab it from the board, but be very gentle, because you don't really want to break this. So now, the next step is to install the new Extruder communication board. And I didn't realise before, but there's also a box down here, which should have everything else. So I didn't realise earlier, but underneath this, there was a box in there. There's this box. And here it is, and it has the new communication board, and seems to be a new fan, some hardware, and then the filament, like, holder adapter thing on the top. So, next step is to install that. Okay, so I've now plugged in all three of the cables, the two original ones. The motor cable goes there, this cable goes here, and then this one, I don't remember what this one's called, but this cable comes all the way up to here, and then just up to there. And I also went ahead and put all three of the screws in because I didn't do that before. So, next step, we install the PCBA and secure it with the screw. So, that is underneath. PCBA is now installed and secured. And the next step is reattach the rear cover and secure it with 3 screws, and then remove the hot end, which is just these 2 screws. And then obviously I'm going to put back on the rear cover, which is this. So I'll see you when I've done those 2 steps. Okay, so I have now reinstalled the rear cover and put all 3 of the screws in. And also, these cables were really difficult to get through. And it doesn't say on the instructions, but over here there used to be 2 little clips coming out, and just to hold the single wire. But now it was 3, there's no chance you're going to fit them all underneath. So I just took a pair of cutters, and I made a lovely clean cut over there and got rid of both of them. And it looks just like factory. And then the cover's a bit difficult to put on, and you kind of just put it on top. Then, what do we have next? So then next we have remove the hot end, which is these 2 screws over here. Oh, and I took this off as well to have a bit better access. It doesn't say that in the instructions, but it gives me much better access. And then, so now remove these 2 screws for the hot end, and then remove the old heat brake fan assembly with 1 screw, which is going to be somewhere in there. Okay, so I've now removed the nozzle and the old fan, and here is the new fan, which seems to have an extra board over here. And now the next step is remove old gearbox and filament cutter assembly, which is this whole thing up here. Be careful because there is a blade over there. And then it's gonna have a new one over here. A few moments later, I have installed the new filament cutter extruder assembly, and next step in the instructions, install a new heat brake fan assembly and connect the fan cable, which is, this is the new one. If you mix them up, it's the one which has the new PCB on top. And that goes somewhere there and secures with a screw. And then you also need to connect the cable, and then also reinstall the hot end with 2 screws. So I'll see you once I've done those 2. Also, just realised I'd forgotten to plug in this cable, so make sure you plug that in. Okay, so the bracket is now in, and I would also highly recommend having a pot to put in all of the screws that we're not using and that we're replacing with new screws. So now the next step is to reinstall our cover, the front cover, and then also to install our brand new cooling fan. which, as it says in the instructions over here. Okay, so now I have installed this and the printer communication cable, and then I also realized that this bracket at the back I had put on the wrong way before, and I managed to fix it by just taking off the fan, and I had just about enough access to fix it. So now, as you can see, I also reinstalled this, which I took off. It didn't say to take it off in the instructions, but it gave me better access before. And I'm guessing this PTFE tube isn't going to be used anymore, but I'll leave that there for the time being. So, next step in the instructions is to flip the printer around and take off this, like this chute over here. Oh, it's just that over there, so it's 4 screws to take that off. And then I put the new one in and put the 4 screws back in. Hello and welcome to the back of the printer. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. And this comes off and put the new one on, 4 screws back in. I'm also going to have to take this off, which I 3D printed, because that's what holds it on. So now, a few moments later, I have installed the new chute, and it looks pretty much exactly the same, apart from this kind of brush area is different. This is longer here, and it's a different, like, nozzle cleaner thing. So, but the rest of it is pretty much the same. Next step in the instructions is unscrew with 10 screws, securing the bottom plate and remove the bottom plate. So, I would highly recommend you had a towel or something to put down on the table, and then rotate the printer, and then take the bottom plate off. And I think this is like to, I've seen somewhere on the video, this is the connector for the multi-material system. Some of the older printers didn't have it, but what you need to do is underneath, they've pinned this wrong, so you have an adapter cable which repins it. I'll show you what I mean when I take the bit off. 10 screws later, the bottom plate has been removed. Okay, so I'm looking here at this red board, and I can see that this is the connector, because I followed this up and it comes up to the connector for it. And it looks like they've repinned this, so like in the original version, they kind of pinned it correctly. And middle pin isn't being used, and that one's over there. And that's going to be in this bag over here. So now I'm just going to put the 10 screws back on to put the bottom cover on. And that's good. Also make sure to line up both of the vents with the PCBs and the power supplies, because otherwise they're going to overheat. So just do that. Make sure they all line up. And also probably start with that screw. Be very careful, because these are very easy to strip, because then it holds the whole thing in and you can put the rest in. See you in that. Okay, so all 10 of the screws are now back in, along with the bottom plate. And now I have the fun task of rotating the printer upright again. Okay, so I have rotated the printer upright again. And in the instructions, it says that next time up, I need to remove this piece of foam from the right-hand side and take out the 2 screws beneath it. And then I need to select which of these pads fits this machine. I'll see which one that is. It will be different for every printer. And then I need to get this out. And it looks like I just mount this bracket over here somehow, or this way, I'm not quite sure. You mount that somewhere there. And then this goes on behind it. Okay, so I've removed the old foam and the 2 old screws, and I've found the piece of foam which fitted for this machine, and I've installed that with the cutouts towards the inside. And now I need to have a look at the instructions, and the instructions says M3x50 screws. So have a look to find them. M3x50, 2 pieces, which is for the mounting bracket, which is going to be installed like that. So I've now installed all 4 of the PTFE tubes and the little holder in the middle. And now the instructions say next to remove the filament runout sensor with the 1 screw it has underneath, and also the old PTFE line which goes all the way around. Now the instructions say remove all 6 screws securing this panel. Also, it doesn't say this in the instructions, but if you're converting your printer from it originally, you'll need to remove the original filament holder. And also, if you have anything on here like this, for example, you're going to need to take that off as well. And then any accessories pretty much on this side you'll have to remove. So I've got USB holder I made up there, and this, and then this as well. So now I've figured out you only need to actually take off the 6 screws, 3 on each side, leave those 2 in. And I also put a bit of electrical tape around the filament runout sensor, the cable for it, just in case, just to not short anything out. And now I need to get the M3 by 8, 6 pieces spool holder and mounting assembly for these. And now you get these 2 brackets, and they go here and here. And then you take the spool holders and you just screw them on. See you when that's all together. Okay, so now I've installed the 2 rails and all 4 of these spool holders. It says in the instructions 1, 2, 3, 4 because they're labelled and they won't work otherwise. And to put them in, it was literally they've got a bit and you put them in and you push them down. Now the next step in the instructions, the final bit of hardware, is this cable, which plugs in at the back of the printer and over here. Okay, so I've now connected the cable. It connects over here and down over there. And the kit also comes with this cable. And what this is for is if you have an older version of the printer and you don't have that port at the back, then what you do is you open up the bottom of the printer like we did earlier. And where I plugged in that adapter cable, you plug this in, and then you can just use it like that. And then I'm not sure this either goes at the back or it's external. I think you just screw it down there. But for this printer I don't need to do that because it already came with the port. So now the final step is to switch on the printer and to update it to the Multimaterial system. So now I'm gonna plug in the printer and see if it switches on. Power on. Yep. Yay! So, number 1, we need to do a firmware update. So, I'll wait for this to open and I'll see if I can figure out how to do that.
Elegoo, create the feature. Come on.
Okay, so now the printer has switched on. It says it's got a new version detected. So, fix, update, fan control related issues, resolve multiple IU interaction experience. Okay, update. Update. Version updated. Okay, so I have now loaded up all of the filament into the printer, and I am now printing this like cylinder thing which I made, which uses all 4 different colors here. And I use Isan PLA filament, which is amazing. It works really well on this printer, and we run this on generic PLA profile, and we've never had any issues with it really, so I'd kind of recommend it. So now printer, this is the 2nd print I've done because I did a little test print before. Now this is gonna go up.
And that's gonna go up and then it's gonna start printing. Now it's cleaned up the nozzle. And now I believe it's gonna make sure that the nozzle is clean.
Now it's going to come to the front. It's going to clean the head again. Now it's going to start printing. I'll see you when this has made a bit of progress. And it looks really good. So this is just kind of a tiny little thing. And unfortunately it made this whole thing as well to purge the filament. I'm guessing if you have a larger print, then this will remain quite small, so it won't really affect it. But for something like this, which is so small, this was quite large. But they're not that big, it doesn't waste that much filament. So, all in all, so far, this is obviously the first day I'm using this, but I'm really impressed. The installation wasn't too difficult, it was just kind of tedious and long, but it wasn't too difficult at all. It came with all the right equipment, all of screwdrivers and keys, everything you needed was included. Plus, in my opinion, it looks really nice. So I just wish they'd come out with like a top hat or an adapter or something. Because I'm probably going to make something for that or buy a box and put on top or something. But we need to think of a solution of that. But that's the only limitation factor that I can see at the moment. But the rest of it was amazing. So here is the slicer, and this is what I'd made. So you go over to this, and then if you go to slice plate, you can see, or preview, you can see over here how I put all the different colours. Because what I did is you drag this down up to a point, up to a certain layer, and then you right click and press change filament, and then you select the filament you want to go to, and that's just how you swap it, and then you hit print. Hope all of you really enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.